Hello everybody. In this video we're going to tune up our core, both our abdominals, pelvic floor muscles, as well as the inner lines of the legs that are deeply connected to our core, to create more stability and awareness. You might be in a postnatal situation. It's great, 6 weeks plus after giving birth, I'd say. Or you might be experiencing some heaviness in your pelvic floor region, or maybe you just want to create a better understanding of your pelvic floor and your abdominals regardless. Good. So we'll need 2 blocks in our session today, and we're going to start lying on our backs on one of the blocks. Make sure to take the other block with you. If you've given birth, please lie onto your back through the side. Do not tax the abdominals. And we're going to place one block in the lowest setting underneath our sacrum. I'm going to make room above my head. And I don't want it to be under my lower back. This is going to create a tilt backwards. I want to place it underneath the sacrum so that the pubic bone and the belly button are coming a little bit closer to my chin, so that the pelvis is tilting this way, and there's just a little bit of a relief for the pelvic floor muscles. So the pelvic floor muscles all the way at the bottom of our torso, they help us carry the organs, and they sometimes like to have some relief. Good. And I like to use my hands to just give the seat back. It's okay to kind of slope up towards the belly button. You can hang. And we'll just start by breathing here. Deeply into the belly, the rest, the head, the shoulders, nice and release the jaw. Maybe exhale through the mouth. So that a softening can start to enter the deeper layers of the abdominals. And quite often we think of engaging and activating, but issues such as incontinence often stem from actually overactivity or a super high tone of the pelvic floor muscles and our abdominals that are kind of nervous, that like to do more than they need to. So finding the right balance between engagement and relaxation so that our tissues are adaptive and responsive as opposed to reactive. Good. Maybe taking a few more deep breaths as the belly moves up. Inhale. And exhale is an automatic ebbing of the belly. Good. And we're going to use the Ujjayi breath that we use in yoga or vinyasa style yoga practices. And that's the tightening at the back of the throat. And the throat, the diaphragm, pelvic floor are deeply connected. And as we start to engage the throat, we automatically activate the pelvic floor slightly. And that's the reason we use, one of the reasons we use the Ujjayi breath in yoga. If you're not used to this breath, it might take a little while for you to find that sound. You can imagine you're holding a mirror in front of your hand. You're trying to fog the mirror. And as you fog the mirror, halfway through, you can just close your mouth and continue to still breathe with that sound. And then same breath or same sound as inhale as well. Good. Nice. And when you're ready, you can place the block in between the thighs. I like to use the second setting for this one. Feet hip width distance apart so that the thigh bones are roughly parallel towards one another. And as I inhale, I'm just holding on to my block. And as I exhale, I'm starting to squeeze the thighs towards one another. Inhale again, releasing. And as you exhale again, squeezing the block. Good. And continue at your own pace. It doesn't, maybe 20, 30% or even less we just want to find the pelvic floor. So as we squeeze the block, you might start to feel those muscles that you maybe use when you're stopping your pee, or when you have to, hold yourself from going to the bathroom, starting to engage. And as you inhale again, release. You're just barely holding on to the block. Good. Every time you inhale, belly becomes a little wider. And as you exhale, you can, as you squeeze the block, as you find those muscles at the base of the pelvis, also starting to pull your belly button in and up. And here, with the block underneath our sacrum, we're asking gravity to help us a little bit with this sense of everything lifting in and up. Good. And exhale. Right. And then once you have an idea of maybe where those pelvic floor muscles are, the sits bones are always a great anchor, and the pubic bone and the tailbone. And getting a sense that all those 4 points come a little bit closer together, like a little diamond, as you squeeze the block together. Good. Keeping that image in mind, you can get the block out from in between the thighs and also the block out from underneath your sacrum. Let's take a moment to bring the knees into the chest, and you can just draw some circles here to massage the sacrum. Good. And then you can replace your feet onto the floor. And we're going to slowly engage the muscles while staying aware of the pelvic floor. So inhale, doing nothing. And as you exhale, lifting the knee up. Start with the right one. And as you exhale, release. Good. Inhale and exhale. Let's only move on exhale. Inhale and exhale. Like I said, inhale, pause. Exhale, lift the knee. Inhale, pause. And exhale, lower. And you can continue at your own pace. And the reason we only move on exhale is because the exhale helps us to automatically engage the pelvic floor, automatically engage the TA muscles. Those are the bigger sheaths of muscles that we engage when we cough or when we sneeze. They're really big, and they help us integrate the core. So sometimes when you look down, and you might see this already happening here, that only the six-pack muscles pop up, and those are the rectus abdominis. And when only those pop up when we engage our core, it's called doming, and we want to avoid that because that means the core is not moving holistically, and we want to keep the back, the deeper core, and the TAs active as we do this. And so how can you start to keep your core integrated is you can actually look. Yeah, you can also always place something underneath the head. So you have something that way you can look at your belly. You can touch your belly, inhale. And as you exhale, trying to keep some sort of containment. And also if your hip starts to shift, maybe seeing if you can keep both sides of the hips down towards the floor. Again, it doesn't have to be super hard. This is more about the intelligence and organizing your core. Good. Can also keep this block here. And then we're going to go one step further. So we're going to inhale. And as we exhale, left hand and right thigh pressing in towards one another. And we're starting to add a little bit of resistance. Inhale, release. And exhale, right hand, left thigh pressing in towards one another. Good. And through this diagonal action, we're adding a little bit more obliques. Another big group of muscles on the sides that we can quite safely engage after pregnancy. Good. If you don't see any doming and you feel really good, shaking again is another good pointer that maybe your body-mind connection isn't fully there. So if you're shaking, it's a good thing, no problem. It means the body is trying to learn something new. See if you can just breathe and observe that shaking consciously. If you feel good here, there's no doming, and also you don't feel like your lower back is popping up too much. You don't need to press the lower back into the floor, just keeping a natural curve in the back as we do those things. You can step it up by actually lifting both knees as we do this. You can inhale here and exhale, maybe the arm up. Inhale back, extending the arms, exhale, crisscross. If you want the other hand to make sure there's no doming, you can always touch. Inhale, exhale, crisscross. Inhale. And you can make this as soft or as strong as you like. The more you resist, the more you need to engage your core. Good. Inhale and exhale. Next step would be to extend the other leg. Good. Inhale and exhale, crisscross as we extend the other leg. And I can always touch to see. Inhale and exhale. Good. Maybe 10, 20 of these. See how strong you fatigue. Good. I'm going to go last round, left side. And exhale. Good. And then you can just for a moment, if you went to this variation with me, both hands, both thighs pressing into one another, you can do the same with the thighs down on the ground. Good. And then just relaxing for a moment. We're going to come up through the side. Slowly coming up. And we're going to go into a bird dog position. Let me turn this way. I'm going to move the blocks aside. Probably not going to need them. And from here, let's start by taking a moment here on all fours to see if you're hanging in your joints. We want a sense that you press through the hands, through the knees into the floor, so that already here there is some core engagement just being on all fours. You're also bringing some weight into the hands, and you can always check that by moving through some circles. You might notice that as your weight shifts further forward, the fingers start to engage and your core starts to engage. Good. Keeping this integration, let's kick the right leg back and lift the heel. You don't have to lift it so high that your belly starts to sag. You can keep it maybe hip height, can also be lower, that you can keep a spreading at the lower back. Maybe you want to reach your left fingertips forward, head can gaze down. And just noticing the right hand's working through the hand, through the inner knee. We're working on balance. And we work on balance, we're working our core holistically. Good. And then you can release the left hand down. I'm going to place my right foot down. I'm going to come into a modified side plank. Good. So both feet, both knees. I'm going to turn around all in one line. Good. And as opposed to lifting the foot up, which is quite often a variation that you can do, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to inhale here. And as you exhale, press the right foot into the floor, almost like you're trying to lift the left knee without having to lift the left knee. So you're trying to do this without you having to do that. Good. Inhale. And just exhale, press into the floor. Right hand can also be on your side or reaching up behind your head. Inhale. And exhale, just press into the side. Good. Maybe two more. Inhale. Exhale. Again, I'm trying to lift the knee without having to lift it at all. Inhale. We're just trying to wake up the inner line of the body through the inner lines of the legs, the pelvic floor. Good. We're going to take it into a stretch. Depending on where you are, I'm going to walk my hands forward to come into this gate pose variation. You can always have something underneath the knee. We're going to take an easy stretch. Inhale, shift the weight forward. And as you exhale, shift the weight back. Just a few times to floss through the inner lines of the legs. Once you get the movement going back and forth, you can start to really think about pressing the right foot and knee towards one another so that the inner thigh is engaged as we shift back and stretch the tissue here. Inhale and exhale. Last 2, inhale. Exhale. If this feels good, feel free to do it more. Good. And then we're going to slowly come back onto all fours. Go through the other side. Checking back in on all fours, making sure you're not hanging, creating some puffiness through the back. And from there, keeping that as you kick your left foot back, maybe lifting the heel. You can stay here or reach your right fingertips forward. And then just observing your body, finding the balance. Balance is always a dynamic process. Good. Wonderful. And then from there, you can ground your right hand. I'm going to roll onto the outer edge of my whole body. Stacking hand, knee, and left foot in front of one another. Side plank variation. I want to press into the floor here to keep the lift. I'm going to press the left foot so much into the floor that I'm almost about to lift my right knee. You don't have to lift your knee at all. Inhale, relax. Then exhale again, pressing into the floor so that the inner lines of the legs work. Inhale, soften. Exhale, press. Good. Just a few times to wake up the left inner line. Again, this was one of the postures postnatally that I found hardest. Basically, is a modification of fallen triangle. Inner thighs are they have to go along for the ride as the pelvic floor stretches out. So bringing awareness and contraction. Good. From there, I'm going to walk my hands forward to come into gate pose. And inhale, shifting the weight forward. Exhale, shifting the weight back. Good. And once you get this coordination down, you can start to pull the legs towards one another so your inner line stays active. As you shift your weight back and extend through the inner thigh. Flossing through the fascia, through the inner lines of the left leg. And I notice big difference for me, left and right. Maybe 2 more. Inhale. And exhale. Good. And then let's come back onto all fours. And into a child's pose. You can widen the knees, keep them closer together. Release the head down towards the floor. And we're just going to finish with some pelvic floor activation. This is a position where we can feel our sits bones quite well. And every time you inhale, you can feel the pelvic floor moving down and out, almost like the sits bones are widening. Your butt becomes a little bit bigger. And as you exhale, you can exhale with an S sound. With the intention of bringing the sits bones together, pulling the pelvic floor in and up. Belly button starts to suck in and up towards the spine. Inhale again, widening. Exhale to squeeze everything in and up. You can always touch your sits bones also. They're not going to move so much. Maybe they move just a tiny bit, but this is just tactile feedback for the body. Inhale to widen. Exhale to narrow. And also your pubic bone and your tailbone. You're going to always touch these areas of the bodies to tell the body this is where we want some activation. Inhale. And exhale. Good. And then bringing all 4 points closer towards one another. Inhale. And exhale. You can imagine hammock getting pulled in and up, or your jellyfish. Last one, inhale. Just as important to release and widen as it is to activate on your exhale. Good. Then I'm going to slowly lift up. And let me know if you have any questions or any requests around this topic. And I hope you slowly over time get in touch with your own body and your core. Thank you so much for joining today.